couple Pro Bowls here, some franchise passing records. I mean, what qualities allowed you to last nearly, 4 times longer than the NFL career average?
Yeah, I would say number one is.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Athlete Country Club, where we give real information from real coaches and players to athletes and parents who are aspiring to play at the college level. Extremely excited for our guest today. Derek Carr is more than just a record-setting NFL quarterback. He's a leader, mentor, competitor whose journey from Sugar Land, Texas to a decade-long NFL career is marked by just resilience and character. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler with 33 career game-winning drives. Derek holds multiple Raiders franchise passing records and exemplifies just discipline, faith, toughness, and it takes what it takes at the highest level of the game. But beyond the stats, Derek, he's passionate about mentorship, passing down lessons to the next generation of athletes, and really just inspiring others to pursue excellence in both sports and life. And most importantly, I'm excited to call him, a friend, a mentor, and a brother in Christ. So without further ado, DC, good to have you, brother.
Yes, Marcus, thank you so much for that Sugar Land, Texas shout out.
Sugar Land, Texas. We had to give a shout out there. It's talked about, got pulled up your sophomore year, wasn't sure if he was going to play, some injuries happened, got thrown into the fire. And yeah, you can kind of start there. Why were you guys in Sugar Land, Texas to begin with?
Yes, I didn't have just I would say just a normal growing up period. My brother is the first overall pick in the draft, and he wants me to experience it because I could throw a football since I was 2 years old. My dad just tells stories that are crazy, and so my brother, seeing what could potentially be, he's like, I really think that Derek needs to be around this, and he's like, I'd love for me and my parents to move out there with him. And so he ended up buying my parents a house, and I was out there and I experienced everything with him. And so we moved out to Sugar Land because big brother was the first pick in the draft. No pressure, there. But it's like he would always tell me too. He's like, you work as hard as you want. You can't beat the first pick. I was like, yeah, good point.
Yeah, no, you hit the ceiling there. Yeah, no, that's something I definitely want to get into, and kind of something I wanted to just kind of talk about in the beginning. I don't know if you remember. You probably don't. It's just more of a kind of pedestal moment for me, I guess, back in the day. So when I was at Fresno State, I was going into my second year. You're in the off season, you're training, and you broke us down in the workout, and you kind of were talking. And me and you get together, and we're talking a little bit, and you're like, "Hey, reach out to Josh Harp. Shout out Harp, pretty good receiver for you back in the day." But he was like, "Hey, you said go get my number from Harp," and I was like, "All right, cool." So I got your number from Harp, and then it was funny. I tell everyone, I don't know if I've ever told you this, so it's gonna be kind of funny, but it was almost like I felt like it was like a high school kind of crushing. I'm like, man, do I text him right now? Like, do I wait a couple days? Like, do I text him in an hour? Like, I was kind of waiting, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna text him. Whatever. I don't remember what I said. Hey, what's up, DC? How's it going, bro? It's Marcus. Lock me in, or something like that. And I remember you text me back, and you said, I'm surprised you text me. And I was like, first of all, I was like, why would Derek Carr? So why wouldn't I text Derek Carr? Like, I'm trying to get to the NFL. He carries himself well on and off the field. Like, why wouldn't I text you? And then you told me that you've given every quarterback that opportunity since you left. And I was the first one to text you. And that was just absolutely just mind-boggling to me. And I think, not to point out the Fresno State quarterbacks, but just in general, why do you think mentorship is so important in sports and life, and what made you want to give back like that?
Yeah, the first thing is I offer my number to all the quarterbacks and say, man, or at least just, hey, if you want to get in contact with me, I'm open to it. Even the guys now, like, whatever you need. Like, if you're like, hey, Coach Chance, do you think Derek would, talk to me? Absolutely. Like, I'll have you at my house. We can watch film. We can do anything. You, Hainer, like you guys. There's a few of you that really, to me, just, I could see the hunger in you to just, whatever you wanted to be great at, football, life, whatever it is, like you guys that reached out, I don't just text you right away because I don't want it to feel like I'm trying to overstep or anything. I honestly want guys to text me because it just says, like, I'll take 1%. If I think Derek can give me 1%, knowledge, help, all those kind of things, it shows me what your character is. It shows me where your mindset is really. It shows me that you're hungry. It shows me all those things. And so then it makes me even more excited to help. And as you know, you can text me at midnight. You can text me any time of the day, anytime, and I'll get to you as soon as if I'm not by my phone, as soon as I get it, I'll text you right back. But I think that it's two things. One, it shows your hunger and desire to get better, and two, it allows me to use all this information that's in my brain and just pour it into the next generation. And so I'm very passionate about that. I had people in my life, like obviously my brother. And as I got to the NFL, other quarterbacks that would help me out in the NFL, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Archie Manning, Aaron Rodgers at times, early on in my career, when, we had going against similar teams or things like that, things he remembered, and things that helped me win football games, things that helped me, break a record or throw a touchdown. And so I think that's what it's all about, man, is passing it on. Kurt Warner's another one. Speaking of Fresno State, Kurt is another guy who I asked him, I said, would you grade my film? He would grade it and give me critiques all throughout my career and text it to me the next day. And just having a different, he doesn't know the reads and certain things or whatever we're being taught, but he could talk about, hey, these throws are getting you, or hey, this, and I would go work on those things. And so to me, that stuff is so valuable. Why not ask? I found myself at times in my life where you get in your kind of bubble. I don't want to bother anybody also. You could feel that, like, I don't want to bother him, right? Man, what's the worst can happen? They can say no. I just started asking,
Back to square one. Yeah.
Back to square one, whatever. And I started asking, and all of a sudden I'm sitting here talking to Peyton Manning for an hour and a half, and he's breaking down literally everything. And I would be lying to you big time if I didn't say that was a huge help in my career and my development. So no, there's guys like that are super helpful, and I'm super grateful for them. And I just try and be that for everybody else.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And you kind of touched on it already. I mean, you definitely grew up in a unique environment. I mean, not everyone gets to live under the same roof as a #1 overall draft pick. And I think I actually texted Dave the other day too, kind of jokingly, and on a chat around. I was like, I don't know how many #1 draft picks are even alive and walking around right now. I said, do you realize that? He's like, I've never thought about that. It's like, so you definitely grew up unique experience with that. But I mean, how much did that just shape your perspective on mentorship and leadership and watching your brother do it at the highest level?
Yes, so making it to the NFL was normal to me in my brain. Like, it was just normal because I was like, well, if I just work hard and do what Dave did, I'll make it, yeah, like it was almost like a psychotic kind of mindset, like, oh, it's just normal, it's like,
No,
that's
for
crazy,
sure.
and so for me, I was like, man, what an experience it was for me that I'm 12 years old watching NFL film already. I'm 12 years old breaking down the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm 15 years old getting ready for a freshman game. And I'm asking my brother, hey, they play this. He's like, oh, you'll have this throw all day. You'll have this throw all day. And so I'm taking these drops. I'm ripping these throws. And it's like, it's there all day,
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, wow, like, this guy knows what he's talking about. And so I would not be here today. I wouldn't have the records or the Pro Bowls and all those fun things. I would not have any of that without my brother and without mentorship. If I was just out there throwing fastballs, who knows how many picks I would have thrown? Who knows how, my knowledge of the game or what I wouldn't have seen. He didn't open up just himself. He opened up his coaches. Mike Sullivan was his quarterback coach when they won the Super Bowl. Sully's out here teaching me, different shells, and hey, you gotta see the safeties all the time. You gotta see cover six, you gotta see quarters, you gotta see, robber, you gotta see two, and just little tricks like that. You're like, oh, because I can't see everybody, but I can see that move. And just little tricks of the trade, little tips that again help me win football games in my life. That you don't just get that, by growing up and having no one around you. It takes people pouring into you, and thankfully, like you said, I grew up in a very unique situation.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you kind of talked about, I mean, just how about you've talked about how much people poured into you over the year. I mean, from Peyton Manning to Drew Brees, Archie Manning, your brother, your dad. I know he played a really big impact on your guys' just exposure, bringing you guys different cards and stuff like that. But I mean, just for a younger athlete who's listening, what's the best way to find or even create a mentorship relationship?
Well, one, I always tell people like because a lot of people are like, man, I want to do exactly what you do. And I'm like, that's awesome. I was like, but what if God called you to something else? And that's a hard thing to say to, a kid that's like wants to be the next NFL quarterback. I was like, if he called you to it, great. It's going to happen. It's going to be great. He'll pave the way. But the first thing I would say is make sure you know you're called to do this because it's hard. It's hard mentally. It's draining. If you're doing it the right way, people are going to hate you for it. It's tough. So make sure you're called to it. If you're called to it, you wake up every day with a smile on your face, no matter what. And that part of it is easy. It's comforting in your heart because you're like, I'm supposed to do this. That's the first part I always say to people is make sure you know what you're called to do. So if it's to play quarterback, it's to play receiver, it's to do those things, do it with excellence and do all that. Second part of that is, okay, you know what you're supposed to do. Man, be a great teammate. Be coachable. Let your coaches and players around you fall in love with you because that is more important than any letter you can write, anything, because they're going to come to your coaches, they're going to come to your teammates, they're going to come to your teachers and say, is this guy an idiot or not? What kind of kid is he? Is he nice? Does he do his stuff on time? Does he show up late? Is he always walking in with his pants sagging? Like I had crazy questions of college coaches coming to like asking these exact questions, like they want to know who it is that you are. And they have a checklist they go through of these things. And so, and when you get to the next level, these NFL scouts are asking your first grade teacher, how did he learn? What was the best way he remembered things? It's insane. And so that's the first thing. Second, and then the next thing I would say is network, man. Like reach out, like you reaching out to me reaching out to these guys, Hayner reaching out to me. I had a brother, obviously that was an easy reach out, but and he, as you know, he's a hard guy to get a hold of sometimes. So it was a great connection for me. Like he doesn't answer his phone at all. He's born in the 70s. He doesn't even want a cell phone. And so I would say be so vulnerable and be so humble that you don't know everything. There was times in my life where I felt like I knew it. And I remember throwing a stop route versus two man. You'll love this. I threw a stop route versus two man because it was Devontae Adams versus a Mountain West corner. Obviously, it worked. All right. Obviously it worked, and it was a big
personnel. Yeah,
it was a big gain. Okay, and my brother, I'll never forget. He's like, "Dude, be careful with that throw. I'm just telling you the decision." He's like, "As you go forward," and I was like, "No, man, like I'll be fine." And then I started watching this NFL film when I got there, and I was like, "These stop routes aren't going to hit versus two man."
Yeah, squatting on those. Yeah,
they are squatting. They are underneath and inside. And so. Just little things like that, man. Don't feel like you know it all and just receive it, man. I just got to talk to, you'll love this. I talked to the Oregon State quarterbacks. I didn't know that. And because, Hughes is out there. Yep. And so he asked me, and so I'm talking to the quarterbacks and man, just how receptive they were to what I had to say. I was like, I told my kids, I was like, you guys can root for them. And I was like, they're open. They want to learn. And I'm like, they've been coached and taught by a lot of guys, but they're so open and willing to hear anything to make them 1% better. So I would say just have that heart about you, that you're willing and open to receive it. Because a lot of quarterbacks, when I was growing up, didn't really want to share all their secrets. Yeah. And now you're getting to a place where guys are willing to open up. They're willing to share. Guys I grew up watching. And it's only going to make the game better, I think. But I think those are a few things that would help.
Yeah, no, and that's huge. And you talked about that transition from from college to NFL, it's different. I know I've experienced the high school, even from a small level, everyone's experienced freshman football to varsity. It's faster. Yeah. Guys are bigger. Guys are stronger. Then you go varsity to college. Guys are bigger. Guys are faster, stronger. And then the window just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then just kind of more of a specific part of your game. I've always been super intrigued with the 33 game-winning drives because, that's a quarterback's dream, It's like, man, this is the moment. This is why we worked for what we do, to be in this moment, to feel that kind of pressure. But sometimes it is too much pressure for people, and just having that just killer instinct in a sense on those game-winning drives. Where does that confidence come from? And when you're in those biggest moments,
when I was a kid, I remember playing on our slanted driveway, shooting hoops, and I pretended to count down 5, 4, 3, I'm shooting the game winner, and I would never go inside, and obviously unless I made it, and I would sit out there for 2 hours till the sun went down, practicing those ending moments. That was my favorite thing growing up. And so, you know, I look back on that stuff, and, you know, those are the things that I'm most proud of, because it started at a young age in my heart. Like, this is, as you know, it's our favorite moment, you know, like that's what you want. My favorite comeback win of my life. And, you know, this will be funny, but it set the course for who I am today. I was in fourth or fifth grade, and it's at Buena Vista Elementary in Bakersfield. And it's for the championship game at flag football at recess. And, you know, all the kids had teams, and we're going through the season. It's the championship game, and we're down at the end. And I'll never forget the sixth grade or football coach or whatever. He literally is playing defense on the other team, like trying to help them win the championship. Okay. And I drop back, and I'm about to throw this little swing wheel route to my right. And he goes like he's going to pick it off. I remember throwing it up over his head, and he couldn't reach it. And I threw it, and we ran in for a touchdown. We ended up winning the game winner. We're drinking water. We're sweating in the classroom. We're still going nuts. You know, we're breathing. Teachers trying to get our attention. I'm just so hyped. But I was like, that moment right there, it did something to my heart where I was like, I don't know. I want to be in that moment. So then you get to the real aspect of it, not just the fluff and the fun of it. And you train that situation. You study that situation. You learn, you know, completions. Don't take sacks. You know, throw it away if it's not there right away. It's better than wasting 8 seconds scrambling trying to find something in certain situations and things like that. And you learn that situation, you study it, you know it. Then you get in that situation in practice, and you have to execute it in practice, because if you never do it in practice, you're never going to do it in the game. And so if we ever lost a 2-minute drill in practice, it would ruin my day. Like that's how much it meant to me. I should say it didn't make me a bad person or anything like that, but it would just, you know how I'm saying, like you'd go to sleep, and I couldn't fall asleep because all I'm thinking about is that one robber. I missed the throw that could have won it. And so my hunger and desire to get back in that situation, to compete, like it would be 2 days, and all right, we're doing 2-minute again. And all I could think about that whole practice, coach said in the team meeting at 8 a.m., hey, we're doing 2 minutes today at the end of practice. From then until we hit that, that's all I'm thinking about. Yeah, okay, yeah, I went 17 to 18 in practice. Yeah, I had a good day. I don't care about a 2-minute drill. And when we got to that drill, it was life or death. When we got to that drill, either I'm getting cut if we don't make it, or we're making it. And so my intensity, I felt others' intensity rise. And then the eye contact. I'm coming to you. You have to make this play. I know they're playing. I already know the coverage. I'm coming to you. And my guys would start laughing, because he said, the offensive line would start sweating when I would start talking to guys, because they'd say, I would look at them, I need some time here. And they'd be like, golly, bro, don't tell us that. But I'm just trying to paint that picture of when it started, and then the press. So then when you get in the game, it's like, dude, I got to complete one dagger. I got to complete one ball, and we're going to win this game.
Yeah. Talk about that though too, because I think that's a huge point for younger kids. And I don't even think I really developed that same sense of urgency until I got to college. Like I would say I took practice serious in high school, kind of. I mean, I was never joking around, but I took it serious. But when I got to college, the exact same thing. The Mountain West Championship we won my senior year, same exact. It's crazy you said that. 2-minute drill. When it was the Super Bowl, like the loser would have to run. I would be pissed if we lost to like this was like they knew it, we knew it. Like, bro, we're not on the same team. Like I'm trying to beat you. I'm trying to step on your neck. Like it got really important. So kind of talk about the importance of practice and kind of raising the intensity of the practice environment so that you become the best version of yourself.
The greatest compliment, one of the greatest compliments I ever got from a coach was one of my coaches. And he was with me early on. Obviously, he kept in touch with me and knew the coaches around me. And then he ended up coming back. And so later on in my career, and he's watching me, and I'd say we're about halfway through the season. He comes up to me. He's like, Derek, you are the hardest practicing quarterback I've ever been around or seen. And he said, I say that your intensity, it's game-like every day. It's in a walkthrough, the focus, the detail. So you don't miss anything. And he said, if you ever miss anything, you immediately yell, stop, do it again. Like it's just the perfection that you expect in practice. He said, I've never seen it. And I said, that to me is the greatest compliment a coach could give me because I can only control my effort and my attitude. Like the completion of the play, the process, all that, you train it, you try your best, but we don't have control over everything. Like, but I can control my effort and my attitude. And so my intensity level was very high. I had fun. I joked around with guys. It's football, man. It's hard. We have a good time. But my expectation and for myself, number one, and for those around me, it just didn't change. And I didn't really, I wish earlier on in my career, I understood my intensity and the way I held myself, I could do that to others faster. So earlier on in my career, I didn't really understand that. People go, hey, and you don't have to cuss them out, but hey, man, talk to them, go get them. And so as I got to the middle of my career and towards the end of career, I understood it. I finally, and I began to see like guys, undrafted guys that I would or be with, and now they're getting second contracts. Now they're done, and those are the things why intensity and the focus of practice. It didn't just benefit me, man. It benefited other coaches. It benefited other players, and ultimately helped us win games.
Yeah, no, and you kind of talked about a little bit perfect transition and just how fluid the NFL is. I mean, the average NFL career is 3.3 years. I mean, you were able to play 10 plus years. I mean, over a decade, couple Pro Bowls here, some franchise passing records. I mean, what qualities, whether that's, I mean, mental, physical, or spiritual, do you think allowed you to last nearly, I mean, four times longer than the NFL career average?
Yeah, I would say number one is my faith, man. You have to. It's going to be highs. I've had Pro Bowl years. I've been booed off the field. I've had all of it. Right. My last two games with the Raiders, they benched me because they didn't want me to get hurt. And half to this coaching staff, that coaching staff will get. That's another conversation. They didn't want me anymore, and that's fine. And all those things. But I've dealt with all of it. I dealt with every little bit of it. I've signed big contracts, and I've also, been hurt and limped off the field. I've seen the highs and lows that come with football. And if you're not grounded in who you are and whose you are, if you're with the world, it's going to go like this. They're going to love you one second. Look at Shador Sanders. Everyone in the world 100% mad. Why is he not going in the first round? Why is he not going? Why is he not going? Why is he not going? Plays great in the preseason. Oh, he's the best. He's the best. He's the best. Has one game, his last preseason game, which isn't great. He's a rookie. He's not getting all the reps. Doesn't have his best day. Gets sacked, takes some bad sacks, whatever. Now they hate him. Oh, he holds on the ball too long. He's this. He's that. It's like, man, how quick did that change, right? He went from having his number retired, from potentially first round Heisman Trophy candidate, or Maxwell, all this kind of stuff, to, oh man, the Browns, he's going to be our guy, to, man, half of us hate him now. Like, yeah, we see it. Yeah, we're good. It's like, dude, this guy's played 2 preseason games. What are you talking about? What are we doing? And so I think a lot of that is pressure on the young guys nowadays, right? A lot of that is this pressure on these young guys of the social media, whose voice. So number one, you got to know who you are. And mine is, I'm rooted in Christ. And so do I get excited? Yeah, I do, but I try and get right back here. Do I get down? Of course, but yeah, but I try and get right back here. So my flow isn't this. My flow is more steady. It stays like this. I try my best. We're human, but I try my best to stay there. So for me, that's got to be the foundation of who you are, because if not, the rest of what I would say, it doesn't even matter. Because if you don't have that, the rest of it really doesn't even matter.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the biggest thing too. I mean, as a quarterback, obviously you kind of hit it all on the head. We're going to have high games, we're going to have low games, and at the end of the day, it's not too big of a difference. And I think this is something I've never talked about it publicly, but I think you would appreciate it. It's the right time to talk about it. Like, I used to, my pregame routine when I got to Fresno State, I used to circle the football field, every football field. It was a home game, away game. We're at Arizona, Utah, wherever we're at. I would circle the field. I would take a knee and I'd pray before the game. And that was my way of just giving it to God. I know you're familiar with the story of Jericho, to where they circled it. And then, like, if you read that story, it's kind of like, from the outside perspective, modern perspective, you're like, this is a joke. Like, what are we doing? We're supposed to be going to war, and you have us walking around in circles. Like, what is going on? And that was kind of just, I really dove into that story, and it's something that changed my perspective on football, to where I would just pray before the game and I'd give it to God and say, hey, I've done every single thing I possibly can to prepare for this game. And I know I have deep in my heart every hour watching film, breaking everything down. And at this point, if I throw 5 touchdowns or 5 interceptions, it's God's plan. It's already written. That's what was supposed to happen, you know? So that's what I think it kind of kept me steady. And that took me a really long time to get to that point, maturity level as a player, to understand football is a part of your identity in a sense, but it's not who you are.
Yeah,
And kind of talk about
yeah.
that because I know you've preached about that and just staying even kill and just kind of talk about just putting it all and kind of letting go and let God kind of handle the rest of it.
Absolutely. You can't be results based. Sure, the records and the accolades feel great. But don't get me wrong, it's awesome. It helps you, all those things. But the losses, and yeah, sure, the losses are devastating. You know, can bring you to your knees, man, crushing. But you can't be results oriented. You got to be process driven. And we hear that all the time, but I'm living proof, man, of all I did was stick to my process. And all I did every year was try and make my process better. Like, that's it. And I was able to play 11 years, and I could play more if I wanted to. Like, the Saints wanted me to come back and play and, lead them again. And I could, we could be on here saying 12 years, 14, 15, 18. I could body, we're getting, shoulder's not as good right now, it's getting there. But I could play as long as I want because I'm process driven. The results are great, and all I wanted to do was win. So all my process is what, I took it from Brady, what some of the things he did. I took some stuff from Peyton and these guys and Drew and these guys. I saw the things they did. Aaron, what did they do to win? And that's all I did, man. I put that in my process. I worked as hard as I could. I did my very best. And I was in some tough situations sometimes. Those are the cards I was dealt. It's like, hey, yeah, you're in a tough situation. The team you're on has had no draft picks. They've had no cap room. They've had new coaches. But hey, good luck. And you start your career off 0-10. It's not good for the old quarterback resume, but I stayed process driven. I stayed the course, man. I did everything within my power that I knew that I could do. And I let God have the rest. And you got to be okay with whatever happens, because most importantly is that process, man. Are you giving your absolute best? Did you give it all that you have? Did you do it with integrity? Did you do it with passion and intensity? And if you did, you go out there and a ball bounces off a receiver and it gets picked, or left guard gets beat, you get hit, and the game's over because you threw a pick instead of throwing the ball right where you wanted to throw it. If you had time, you can't do nothing about that. You can go do pout about it. You can ruin your day. No, man, you're going to go back to work. Help that guy, help your team. One thing Peyton said to me too, and this will bless somebody, is we get so results driven that it's on us. Like, as a quarterback, it's on us to win, right? We have to win. It's on us. It's on us. He's like, so don't ever see a fault as you're watching the film in somebody else and just, man, it's okay. That's why we're losing right now. Man, what can you do now as the quarterback to help that guy? So I had to play with 2 rookie tackles one year, and it wasn't our greatest year, but it would have been real easy to go out there and not move the ball at all. But in my head, I was like, okay, how do I help him? Okay, I'm going to hit my back foot a little deeper, let the ends think they got, and I'm going to step up hard no matter what's there and find my completion. I'm going to have to read it faster. I'm not going to have as much time. But you find ways to try and figure it out. And so my process that year changed a little bit. I didn't have as much time when I had Colt Miller and Trent Brown and these guys in front of me. I didn't have as much time that year. So I got to figure out a way to move the ball and score and try and win games that way. And so when you're process driven, and instead of the result being the high or the low, man, you stay in that even kill place. And I think that's what helped me play for as long as I did.
Yeah. What would be some specific details of being process driven? Like, if you were building the blueprint for a young quarterback to have a decade-long football career, I mean, what are the non-negotiables?
Yeah, you gotta have. How do I say it? I'll say it this way. I just had one of these NFL coaches, and their organization just drafted a young quarterback, right? And he's like, will you send me what you did throughout the week so I can give it to him? So he can look. He's like, so he can look at what a positive long NFL career in the NFL looks like at quarterback. So I sent it to him, and it was literally to the hour. I knew what I was doing from Monday all the way till an hour before the kickoff. Like, I same exact thing every single time, all the way up to pregame. And in pregame, I knew exactly what throws I was making. I knew exactly my warm up throughout the week. I knew exactly when I was going to stretch. I knew exactly what stretches I was going to do. I knew exactly, and I refined that all the way throughout my career. And when I did that, I just saw my accuracy improve. I saw my mental capabilities improve, because now when I don't feel it someday and I'm doing the same thing, I'm like, oh, I need to pick it up here. Oh, this doesn't feel right. I need to bring this back up to that process, to that standard. And so for me, it is knowing what you're doing every day. What are you watching on Monday? What are you watching Monday? For me, after a Sunday game, I'm hard into the film, criticizing myself, being super picky about route depths, about my timing, about my eyes, about like pick yourself apart on Monday. That's what like. No kid should be being coached by his coach, and the coach is like, "Hey, you got to get your depth here," and you should feel offended. You should be so mad at yourself that I didn't get my depth, I didn't have the right steps on my route, I didn't get my head around fast enough. That a coach saying that to you is like, "Yeah, coach, I'm with you. Yeah, yes, sir. Like, thank you for trying, but I'm harder on myself." Like, that's what it should be like, honestly. And once you do that, you should know what you're doing on your off day. There is no off day, especially at quarterback. There's no off day. You should be taking care of your body. You should be getting ready for the next game. You should be watching film on the next team. And that's during the season, but I could get into my whole schedule, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I have a system, a checklist of things I'm checking off every situation of the football game I'm going to run into. And I'm going to make sure I know them better than they know themselves. Like, I remember being on the practice field and the linebacker coach is yelling, talking trash and all that. And his linebackers lined up wrong. I was like, "Hey, scoot over. You're supposed to be in the B gap." And I looked at him and said, "Don't worry, I'll coach. I got it. I'll do your job." And so that's how well I studied it, though. That's how well I knew it, that I could correct them when I saw the blitz. Hey, scoot over. You got this. And they would be like, "Oh, thanks." like stuff like that. That's just like, you gotta have a process of what you're doing, your warm up, how many throws you're making. I knew I'm doing 3 this way, 3 this way, 3 this way. Then I'm doing 3 at 10. I'm doing 3 at 15. Then he's going to back up to 30. I'm going to make 1. I'm going to do 1 at 40, 1 at 50, and then maybe 1 on a line at 50. I'm doing that every time I'm getting ready. So I say all that to say it's a lot, but there was something I knew what I was doing every day and every moment. I just went out there winging it.
Yeah, no, and it's so funny because I mean, there's so many consistencies that like everything you're explaining, I think is just normal because I would do a lot of the same things. It's like I was so obsessed with what I would do. And I think it takes you really, you're probably experiencing it now. Once you retire, you're like, dude, I gave so much of myself to football. Like I had no idea until I stopped playing. And then I started going all of a sudden to I could show up to birthday parties and I could go to weddings and I could go to do stuff. And I was like, man, I've been missing out on a lot of stuff here. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it really takes though, just to get to that level. And it's funny, just a quick little thing I'll throw into it. I remember being at Fresno State and we're going through 2 minute or whatever doing, and they're checking into something and they're like, check, check. And they're like, check orange. I'm like, hey, get in quarters, hurry up. Your coach wants you in quarters. And they're like, oh, it's not fair. Like, our checks now, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, that's your fault. You should change what you're calling it. Like it's not my fault you're using the same check since fall camp. I was like, hey, so little stuff like that where you kind of turn it into a game and it gets fun and stuff like that. But transitioning a little bit on that, just kind of talk about, I mean, just you played for, I mean, 4 different head coaches, I mean, 3 different offensive coordinators with the Raiders, and kind of like a fun activity I kind of want to do for the audience real quick is just kind of talk about just how different that is. Because I'm going to read one play to you and you're going to explain it to me real briefly, elevator version, and then I'll kind of give my little explanation of it. But if you're here with the Raiders, back Derek channeling back in the Raiders, you got a little dock right close 600 jet dragon Y spacing. What kind of concept is that, and what's your read?
Oh yeah, so Dragon Y space 600, just the protection. They can be firm, but they can't cut. That's what the 3 digits tells you. 600. All right, the 6. If it was 2 or 300, if it was 200, they can cut. 600 means they can stay up. Be firm though. Be set quick to keep the D line's hands down. Dragon is a drag slant combination. Drag in the West Coast is not a shallow cross. Drag in the West Coast offense is a flat. So it's a drag slant right behind it. So 1 to 2 on the drag and the slant. And then spacing in a 2x2, you'd have someone over the ball. You'd have a pivot at about 8 yards in the alley, or depending on what hash we're on. And then you'd have a wide or a swing route, as people would say. So it's a pure progression straight across the board. in first quarters, you just got to be careful with that quarter safety on that dragon side. You better get ready. That receiver run flat. You better be able to throw the flat route, or else he's gonna get hurt. But quick game, quick game.
Yeah. Quick game, kind of essentially, you could kind of generalize it for everyone who's not super into football. It's kind of like a curl flat concept, I guess, if you kind of made it like really basic, just from a general read perspective, I guess, in a sense, is a good way to say it. But kind of what I wanted to do is just explain to people just to really understand how, I don't want to say difficult, but a challenge it is when you're changing offensive coordinators all the time. So when I was at Fresno State, we called that exact same play dual right, Liz Line, Y Hank. I'm like, okay. Then I get to the Raiders for the couple weeks that I was there, and you were gracious enough to open up your house and got me in trouble with Gruden actually because I knew checks I wasn't supposed to know. So he's like, "You're cheating. You're with Derek, and you're from Fresno State. You dog guys." And that was funny. And I don't know if I've ever told you that, but I get to the Raiders. I know checks I'm not supposed to know, but that same exact play is called Dock Right Close 600 Jet Y Dragon Y spacing. I'm like, okay. And then I get to the Saints for a little bit. I get there, and that exact same play is called Gun Right 22 Hank Halfback Wide. And I'm like, geez, like, so kind of talk about that. So I guess kind of the question I would have from that, just like as the audience is like, imagine learning a whole new language every time the staff changes. And for you, Derek, I mean, just how does that constant reset affect a quarterback's ability to just play fast, stay confident, and build that chemistry?
Oh yeah, I don't wish changing the offense on anybody. I think for a young quarterback. So let's take an example. You got Cam Ward, right? Callahan's been there a couple of years now. And the worst thing that owner could do for him is if they start off slow. He's a rookie, mind you. If they start off slow and aren't having success, is giving him a new coach with a new offense. Like that would be the worst thing you could do because you're just taking his rookie year and saying, yeah, that doesn't matter. You have the experience, but that doesn't matter. Learn this language now. And so for me, the constant change of the language was the worst. Now, thankfully, as I started getting older, most coaches, except a few, I'll say, would change their terminology so I could just spit it out fast because I'm the one on the field. I'm the one calling it. Like you need me to have it fast so I can coach it to everyone else, right? And when you constantly change, you're speaking, English over here. Now you're speaking Spanish over here. Now you're speaking Italian over here. You're speaking French over here. You're speaking Creole French over here. It's kind of like it, but it's not. It's like there's so much turnover and different words that, like I said, I can call swing route. I can call wide route. I can call a flare. Like people call things all different kind of things. It's the same route. It's the same thing. But if I'm having it's this, and okay. Now here's the crazy part. Is you can have a play that is the exact same drawing. They can call it the same thing, but two different coaches will teach it two different ways. Hey, versus this coverage, I want your eyes to start here. Don't ever throw that. But I want this. If it's 3rd and 2, then I want you to alert this. I have another coach say, I want you to throw this no matter what, and now I want your eyes here. They don't understand to the naked eye just how much is different. That's why I see some of these breakdowns sometimes. And I try my best when I'm doing mine. Like of guys who were quarterbacks and guys who are breaking things down, they're like, oh, this is this play. This is how you read it. And it's like, and now you're painting a picture in the fan or the audience's head of, oh, this kid's wrong. Or you don't know what he's being taught. You don't know what he's being said to him in his meeting room. You don't know if the coach, you could be blaming the coach. Now everybody's blaming the player. Yeah, the coach was wrong. Why is he teaching it like that? That's stupid. But we don't know. And so, for me, there's so many different ways people teach things that it is a headache. Honestly, it's tough. And so, going like you just mentioned, same play, 3 different ways, 3 different words, 3 different languages, but you're expected to know and execute it like that. And so for me as a quarterback, you try and make it simple for them, make it simple and consistent would be the key.
Yeah, no, and that's funny. And even just a small snippet, I remember me and DeBoer, when I first got from Oregon State and I transferred to Fresno State and Tedford was coach, DeBoer was my offensive coordinator. We would be breaking down film watching it, and he would call a certain coverage for special, which is just quarters
Yeah.
with the outside leverage on the slot guy, and I would call it for Packer, and it would drive him
Yeah.
crazy in meetings. He'd be like, Marcus, what coverage is? I'm like, it's for Packer, and he'd look at me and stop, and like all the other quarterbacks, and he's like, you mean for special? I'm like, yeah, for Packer, And I'm like, I was like, dude, this is like such a small thing. Like, I know what you're saying. You know what I'm saying. We just speak different languages, but we'll eventually come on the same page eventually with this kind of stuff. But
Yes.
yeah, so that's just even your own stuff on your side on offense. But then you start, people call different things on the defensive side of things as well. But no, I appreciate the time, brother. I mean, just a couple more questions we'll wrap up. But just looking back, I mean, on your career, I mean, just what do you hope? I mean, your teammates and coaches would say about just the way you carried yourself as a player and a leader.
Yeah, I think I would hope that they would say I gave everything that I had. That means my body, my mind, my soul. I literally gave the game everything every day. I would hope they'd say I was consistent, that I was the hardest worker, and that I was tough. That I played through anything for them. There were days where I walked in on Wednesday and I couldn't walk, but my teammates knew that I was going to practice that day. Like that's the stuff that mattered to me. Gaining their respect. When I retired, man, the coolest thing that I got, and I won't say their names just out of respect to them, but like these all-pro defensive guys I was never teammates with, DMing me on Instagram, texting me, defensive coaches, all of these things. Like, bro, you're one of the toughest, hardest working, one of the smartest players I ever played against. You're up there with Peyton and these guys in your brain and this kind of stuff. And, just that kind of stuff. Like you'd play through those text messages are things like I'll show my kids someday, like people they look up to. And they're like, they play with them on Madden, and they're like, dude, look who it is. And
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, check this out someday. Look what they said about your dad.
Right.
Those are probably the things that I would hope, that my teammates would also say. And most of them did when I retired, but that's the stuff that mattered to me, is that I was consistent, and then my character, that no matter who was around, that I was the same person.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And now that you've stepped away from, I mean, the game and you have a bit more time on your hands, I mean, kind of talk to me about how we can hear more stories behind the scenes. I mean, kind of forecasting your new homegrown YouTube channel you guys got going.
Yeah, so we got Homegrown Network, or Homegrown. I can't remember what my nephew made it, but
Yeah.
it's on YouTube, and we just recorded our first show, and so coming out real soon. Our first show will be on there, and it's David Carr in peak David Carr form. He is hilarious. His man is hilarious. But we had a good time. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be doing it every week, and so I got a lot of stories on there. I got some past things leading up to the show that are some fun things to listen to. Maybe some fun engagement things that people might like. But yeah, we got some stuff on YouTube. But it's called the Homegrown Network, and they can find it on YouTube. And we'll be posting on Instagram and things like that.
Yeah, no, everyone make sure you guys go check that out on YouTube. They have quite a few videos up already of preview stuff, and I appreciate you talking about the breakdown in our podcast here about what an athlete does. I kind of joke, I was watching a bunch of the videos last night as I was in bed. It's like, what does a quarterback do on a weekly basis? Do we just sit on the couch and eat Cheetos and chips all day? And I was like, okay, this is going to be a cool video to watch, to actually see someone who's played a decade long and then felt like, hey, these guys are actually doing stuff during the week. They're not just practicing and not doing anything. But no, that's awesome, man. And I appreciate you just giving back your time. And the final question I have for you is, I mean, just what's 1 to 2 or 3 just pieces of advice you would give 16-year-old Derek Carr?
Oh man, yeah, I would. One, enjoy the time, because it flies. I was always of the mindset like time doesn't fly, like whatever, and here I am. Time flies, so enjoy those moments with your family, your teammates in school. I tell my kids all the time, I know school is not your favorite thing sometimes. Sometimes school sucks and math is hard, but enjoy it. Like enjoy just the grind, enjoy being a kid. So I would tell myself, enjoy the time, because I was always looking forward to the next step. I was like, I got to get to college. I got to get to pro. And it helps to have that mindset, but also to respect and enjoy where you're at. I would also say, just make sure you continually honor your parents, guardians, honor your coaches, honor your teachers. And the last thing I'd say is be a great teammate. And you be a great teammate by giving great effort, working harder than anybody else, and being someone that your teammates, just when you walk in the room, they're excited that you're there. That's one thing I see, and for this next generation coming up, last thing I'd say is be coachable. So many of you are getting paid and all these kind of things and want NIL and want this and want that. That stuff will come. Don't worry about that. Worry about who's going to coach you and care about your life, and teach you things that the game of football can teach you. You're going to get to the NFL at some point. If that's what God's will for you, you're going to get paid there. Don't worry. Right now, I would just focus on those things. Being coachable, be a great teammate, honor your coaches, your teachers, your parents. But yeah, I think that those are the things that I would say. And then on top of it, have fun.
Yeah, no, that's huge. Well, you guys heard it there from Derek. One, enjoy the moment. Two, really honor your elders or anyone loved one that's in your life. And three, just be a great teammate. And Derek, can't thank you enough, brother, for taking some time and jumping on Athlete Country Club here. And we'll release this here pretty soon. And really excited for just everything you've shared and blessed these guys with. And just it's going to be an awesome podcast. And I appreciate you taking time, brother.
Oh, absolutely. Love you, bro. Anytime.